A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first. When I was 8.
Alright, well, I got two of them. One's in my grandparents' house and one's in my aunt's house. So one night, I'm in the basement sleeping at my grandpa's house, and I mean, I'm asleep. And, you know, all of a sudden I feel something tapping in the middle of my forehead like this. And I think I was in my 20s when this happened, or in my late teens, like 19s. But anyway, I feel this thing just tapping, and I mean, it's doing this on my forehead while I'm in bed. And I'm the only one downstairs in that particular room in the basement of my grandparents' house. And so I refuse to open up my eyes. And I'm just like, as soon as I woke up, I didn't open up my eyes. I continuously felt it. And, you know, I whipped myself back into the bed and covered my face with the pillow and just whispered, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away, go away. Please go away. Please go away. Leave me alone. Please go away. And I'd fallen back asleep. And it didn't bother me the rest of the night. But we've always had, like, you could always hear weird things going on, you know, bumping in the night at my grandparents' house. And my grandmother would always say, the house is haunted by the ghost of Philip, which was my deceased uncle who died in infancy. And if you ever say anything to my grandmother, she would have been like, well, that's just Philip playing around. And so we always chalked it up to Philip. Now, my second story happened later in life when I had my child in 2016, because he was 6 years old. And so me and my older sister had driven down to my aunt's house, who lived in southern Illinois. And this house, you know, they had built it on some land themselves, you know. And so we had went down there, just us and our two kids. And we get there by the time it's nighttime. And by the time we get there, like I said, it's night. And so we get downstairs. You know, my sister had already put her son to sleep in the furthest room down the hall. It's like the very last room down the hall. And we all go to the basement, me, my aunt, my son, and my uncle. My uncle's messing around fidgeting with some shit off in the corner, his pool table or some shit. And so it's me, my aunt, and my sister all sitting at this table, just, you know, chalking it up, talking, and, you know, and then my son's over here laying on the couch or something. And so while we're sitting there, and you hear somebody walking, like these boot steps, and to me it legitimately sounded like heavy boot steps, and you hear them walking down the hall, and just one by one. And my aunt has wooden floors, so it was like, you know, distinguished, you know, there's no, you know, the ceiling's unfinished, so it's just wood, you know, where the wooden floors are, so you hear it. And so, and it's walking down the hall, and it's, you know, you could hear it just gradually walking to about where we're at. And we're probably like in the middle would be the living room upstairs. And it's pretty close to the front of the house. And so we hear it, you know, walking, and then it stops, and it walks again, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of continues this, you know, little pattern. And, you know, we just kind of look at my aunt like, who's upstairs, you know, after a minute. And my aunt just was like, well, ain't nobody upstairs besides, you know, my nephew. And like I said, my nephew's little at that time. He's like 1.5, 2 years old. He's in a playpen. He can't climb out himself at that time. And so we're, you know, we're still kind of listening to it, you know, walking. And then we look at my aunt again. I was like, well, are you sure nobody's upstairs? And she's like, no, nobody's upstairs. We haven't heard this for a while. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't heard it for a while? And she goes, well, since the twins were little. And the twins are my cousin's kids, her grandkids. And they're probably, at that time, they were probably like 10 or 11. And so she's like, you know, we haven't heard it since the twins have gotten, you know, about, you know, grown up pretty much since they were little. And so, and she goes, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just Philip. And we're like, and me and my sister kind of just look at each other like, Philip my ass. Like, and so then all of a sudden you hear my nephew screaming. And it's not just normal, crying. It's like bloody murder or something wrong screaming. And me and my sister kind of look at each other. I look at my sister like, well, girl, I ain't fucking with that. I ain't going up there. But I'll have your back at the bottom of the stairs if I need to come up real quick. And so my sister's walking up these big-ass stairs that my aunt has to the first floor. And I'm at the bottom. And I'm watching my sister slowly ascend up these stairs. And as soon as her foot hits the top stair, you hear this thing, and I swear you hear it run all the way back to the bedroom where my nephew is, and my sister doesn't hear it run, and because I asked her when she came back down, but anyway, she doesn't hear it run, and we can hear her walking down the hall, and you can hear Colton calming down, and then you hear her walking back down the hall. And she gets downstairs, and I'm like, well, did you hear the thing run? And she's like, no, I didn't hear anything up there. I didn't see anything up there. And she goes, the only thing that happened was when I picked up Colton, he kept staring at this particular corner and would not stop staring and screaming at it. And so, it was really, I don't know, it was really strange, And we just never heard that before in my aunt's house. And like the whole thing with my uncle who had passed in infancy, it always bothers me because I'm like, well, he would have passed when he was, a couple of days old. He was, not big enough and, to be walking like a grown-ass man across these floors, and so who knows? Maybe it was him, maybe it wasn't. And I still haven't figured out who was tapping me on my damn head at my grandparents' house. I know it wasn't nobody else creeping about in that basement. But anyway, that's my story.